Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I'm here with you to show the construction of this bag from a famous brand. I worked with black shimmery rope like this. Let me bring it a bit closer so you can hopefully see the details. When I looked on the brand's website, this bag came in 3 colors, but I wanted to work with black to show you. Let me show you the inside details. The original bag has a lining and a zipper at the opening, but I haven't added those yet. When I do, if I make a video, I'll be sure to show you. For now, I want to give you the dimensions of the finished bag. In this finished state, the bag is 23 centimeters, and I'd say the length is around 15.5 to 16 centimeters. In the video, I also talk about how I made the bag. I'd like to make a small request. If you could subscribe to my channel and leave a comment, it would make me very happy. Now let's get started on making our bag together. I've prepared the bag pieces like this to show you. Now I'm going to explain how it's done in the video. I want to talk a little bit about my rope. Let me zoom in a little bit. I used a paper rope like this. You can design your bag from whatever rope you have. When I looked at the bag's pictures, it seemed to me like it was made of paper rope. But as I said, you can design your bag from any rope you like. I had this rope and I wanted to use it. And black is such an elegant color, and I'm sure this bag will be beautiful. Now I want to talk about my pieces. Our bag is made up of 2 pieces and a spacer like this. So this spacer and our handle are knitted as a whole. It's very easy to make, don't be scared. While preparing this bag, I used a size 3.5 crochet hook. I now want to give you measurements of my pieces. Look at these 2 pieces. They measure 23 centimeters in length and 15 centimeters in height. It's the same. In the same manner, we weave both of them identically. Now I want to share with you the size of my side piece and the measure of my bag handle. You don't have to use the same measurements as me. You can work with a larger or smaller size if you wish. It completely depends on you. I will measure it immediately. This piece is going to be 110 centimeters in length. I have knitted it like this. I think I might have knitted this piece a bit too much. It will reveal itself when I sew it to my bag. If there is any excess, I will rip it off. So don't worry if you have knitted too much. Of course, look, I have already left some space here. If it is too long while sewing, I will trim the excess. I will show you how to undo it so nothing will be wasted. What is important is that there is a solution if it turns out to be too much. Now I want to set aside my pieces. I want to explain my pattern to you on a light colored paper rope, and we'll start by pulling a chain. Well, for this bag, I started the pattern on a total of 22 chains. Look, let me zoom in for you to see in detail. I placed the pattern on 22 chains. Now, I'm going to explain it to you on a smaller piece. You can pull your chains as much as you want. Look, I've created a small chain like this. I'm wrapping it around the head of my hook. I've skipped 1, 2, 3, and on the 4th one, see, I'm turning it around. At the back, we have these cut wings. I'm inserting my hook here, 2 together, 2 together. I'm also adjusting this with my hand. I've wrapped it around the head of my hook and came to the same point. Again, I've created my double railing. And look, when I fix it like this, I end up with 3 double railings here. So I consider this chain as a railing. I've wrapped it around the head of my hook. I don't have a chain in between. From the bottom, I'm skipping a space 1. I inserted my hook into the skip stitch, yarning over twice, and wrapped the yarn around the hook again. inserting it into the same stitch. Here I'm creating 3 double crochet stitches. After completing each one, use your hand to adjust them like this to achieve a neat appearance. I wrapped the yarn around the hook, skipped one stitch, inserted the hook into the next stitch, and repeated the same steps in that same stitch. I'm making 3 double crochet stitches. Notice how after each one I use my hand to adjust them like so. Then I skipped one stitch, moved to the next, yarning over twice and inserting the hook into that same stitch to create 3 more double crochet stitches. I wrapped the yarn around the hook, skipped one stitch, and continued in this manner. Continue working in this way, skipping one stitch at the bottom between each group without pulling the yarn taut until you reach the end of the row. This sets up the pattern for the first row. Let me show you what it should look like. There's no need to keep going. Let's assume I've reached the end of the row as shown. When moving up to the next row, make 3. I pull my chain, wrap it around the head of my knot, turn my weave inside out. Look at this gap. This is how we're going to work. Let me show you up close. Look, we're setting up our double trebles in the gaps. I've arrived and sunk into my gap, and here I've made my 3 double trebles. There are no chains in between. Already it will be easier from this row onwards because the places we will sink are clear. Look, we pulled 3. Our chain is forming our gap that we will use in the upper row. I've wrapped it around the head of my knot. Look, I've come to my gap. I'm doing my 3 double handrails here. I've wrapped it around the head of my knot. Look, I'm back in my gap. I'm also doing my 3 double handrails here. I've wrapped around the head of my knot. I've arrived at my next gap, and I'm doing my 3 double trebles in the same spot. I've wrapped it around the head of my knot. Look here, I have 3 double trebles. Look at the first, second, and third of this. Look at this one, the second and this third chain I sink into. And here I make a double handrail and complete my second row like this. I'm wrapping up. We have a gap here. It's in the top row, so we'll be using it when we go out now. I pulled my 3 chains, wrapped them around the head of my knot, twisted my braid, and you see, this is ours. Our gap. I'm making 2 double handrails right here. Look here, 2 double handrails. The reason I did it is because we pulled 3 chains on the way up, or a double handrail. When we look at it like this, we have 3 double handrails at the same point. I wrap myself around the head of my knot, sinking into my gaps and putting my 3 double handrails in the same spot. As I said, we don't have chains in between. I wrapped it around my neck space. And I came here, I'm doing my 3 double handrails. I've wrapped them around the head of my knot. I've come to the next one. Every time you're doing this, straighten it with your hand. As I said, I've wrapped it around the head of my knot. Look, I'm at my last space point. Here is 3. I'm doing my double handrail, and it's time to do so. I'm completing it. I'm not going to show it anymore. It's progressing like this. I knitted for a total of 10 rows. You can design it in length and width you want. As I said, you make 2 pieces after you do it. As I said, this piece is knitted in 1 piece, both as a bag handle and on the side. Now you are preparing to show you how I did it. It also consists of double handrails. Now let me explain briefly how I did it. For this long piece, I pulled 9 chains. As I said, you can work at any length and width you want. Let me show you on a short piece. You pull your chain as much as you want. After pulling, count 1, 2, 3. So I pulled 9 and sank into the 6th. In groups of 2, I began to set up my double handrails. By baiting each one, make your double handrails to the end of the row. Look, I did it to the end of my row. When climbing up to the next row, pull 3 chains. Wrap your head diagonally and flip your weave. Not the one right below, but the top of the next one, and continue making your double handrails until the end of your row. Keep going. The 3 chains we have pulled here are considered handrails. Since we've reached the end, we don't sink to the bottom. I continue in the same way until the end of my row. Then I move up to the next row, pull my 3 chains, turn my braid, sink into the next stitch, and continue this way until the end of the row. I complete my double handrails by sinking into the top of each stitch. This is how our bag handle is formed. As I mentioned, you can knit it until it reaches your desired length. If you want to change it up, you can also do it in a tight knit style. So as you can see, it will have an appearance like this. In fact, let me show you this as well. It will look something like this. And now we've come to the assembly stage of our bag. I'm taking this place marker. I'll start attaching the bag handle you saw beginning from here right under the bag. I'll sew it on, fixing it to the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth stitches like this. I've secured it right at the midpoint. I want to fix it at the corner points as well so that it's more stable, and that way I can sew it. Look, I put on my markers and stabilized it in this way. And also my bag handle appeared. It seems like I'm going to remove 1 or 2 rows from here because it might have been a bit too much, but as I sew it, of course, this would become evident when I sew it this way, of course. It would be more accurate to give its final measurement in this state, but when I make my adjustment this way, my bag handle will be 60 centimeters. I have adjusted this way. You can adjust it to the length you want. When I sew it with black thread, because it will not be visible, I will show you how to sew a small piece with this. Look, in such a manner, my 2 ends. We bring it to the bottom of the moment so that it looks more stylish visually, to seem like it's in one piece. For that look, I put my knot through my gap part. I'm also passing my thread through. Since it will not be very clear on black thread, I'm going to show how to sew it in a short way on this light colored thread right now. I've also taken my piece. See, the places where we will sew are already aligned with each other. Now my thread, I'm pulling it here. I make a back stitch and tie it up this way. Again, I go into the same space and make another back stitch here. Then look, I'm coming over my sample. On the opposite side, I'm aligning with the same space and similarly making 2 back stitches here. Next, I go into the space on one side. Here too, I aligned with the space in the same way and I'm making 2 back stitches. If you want, instead of back stitches, you can join your bag using a running stitch. You can proceed with whichever way looks good to you. Look, I'm going into my corresponding points and immediately creating 2 back stitches here. See, I will sew up to here this way. After sewing, I will hide my thread here. I'm going to turn it over and sew this side in the same way. By doing this, we will have assembled the sides of our bag. After I take care of this, I will sew the other part in the same way. Once I'm done sewing, I'll come back to you. Let me finish it now and I'll be with you after completing it. I sewed one part of the bag like this and I wanted to show you the other part before sewing it. Look, this is how it looks sewn. After sewing our handle, I combined these two end parts with the help of a needle. You can see where to join them from this point. If you want, you can also use a running stitch to join them. I didn't want the stitching to be too visible, so look, I joined it at this point like this. Let me turn it around. Look, our bag looks really stylish even without sewing the other part. I'm going to sew the other part now. I'll show you a close-up and be back with you after I sew it. The original bag had a zipper at the opening and was lined on the inside. I don't have the lining and zipper with me at the moment, so I won't be able to show you that part in the video, but when I do get them, I'll make a video on how to line the bag. Take a look at this. We end up with a really stylish bag. I'm now sewing this other piece onto my bag, and once I'm done sewing, I'll be right back to show you the finished bag. I've completed the sewing process for my bag. Let me show you a closer look so you can see it in full detail. It turned out to be a really chic bag. Let me give you a quick look at the interior. As I mentioned, I'll try to make a video on lining the bag. If I'm unable to, I'll leave a link in the description to a video I made previously on my channel about how to line a zippered bag. You can refer to that to line this bag as well. If you don't want to line it, you can also sew a snap closure at the opening. It's up to you. Here's a look at the interior detail. Let me bring the bag closer to show you. There it is. I hope this video was helpful for you. I really enjoyed working on this. See you in the next video.